Okay. Hi, everyone. So within the next 24 hours, Neptune is going stationary. Now, it's early morning, the 26th for me. For some of you, it'll be most of you, it'll be the 25th, even the 24th. Neptune going stationary in Pisces, what you're getting is Neptune coming through very clearly because it's stationary without the blurring, and it's in Pisces, which is its natural support system. It's like Pisces is going, let's give you Neptune unadapted, unaffected, just pure and simply the way it is. So the question is, what is Neptune about? And the other question is, how does that actually affect the way you operate in the real world? And they're interesting questions because Neptune, in one way, isn't about how you operate in the real world, and yet it fundamentally is. So let me address this succinctly. Neptune is about moving beyond the limitations and boundaries of the physical world and connecting with something greater than that, that sustains, empowers, supports the very nature of physicality being physical. In other words, it's getting in contact with the greater power in its greatest expression, which sounds all very wild and profound. But the physical manifestation of that in its most positive form is humility. It's like, I'm alive and we need routines and we need systems and stuff like that. It's part of life. We need boundaries. It's part of putting the structure of living in a physical world and a limited reality together. But humility goes, every day is a fresh day. Every day is unique and different. It means this world, with all its limitations and boundaries, needs to have a sense of limitlessness built into that. It's like making it fluid, making it relaxed enough that you can truly flow with it and enjoy it. So that's the lubricant to our systems, our sense of responsibility. It keeps them from becoming rigid and stuck. And it keeps limitation from being too limiting. Now, the beauty about limitation is it's the one thing you can't experience when you're living as an unlimited being. So it's a really precious gift to actually have this time that we have to live as limited human beings, as an infinite part of us living in a limited body and in a limited world. And so it's very paradoxical. The whole thing about Pisces, about Neptune, it's paradoxical. You need limitations, but you need fluidity so the limitations don't become too limiting. And at the same time, the fluidity needs to be able to accept limitation so we can operate effectively in the physical world. And there's this incredible dance between the two. And they have to learn to work together. And this is the sweetness of it. And that produces the need for humility in our everyday life. In order for us to be strong enough to deal with this flexibility, to be relaxed, to really enjoy life, to still have discipline, to still have responsibilities and that, but for us to be strong enough to have this as a living, breathing, alive, joyful part of life, we need to be humble. Which means no matter how correct I am, no matter how smart I am, no matter how rich I am, how poor I am, how many limits I have physically in the world through health or financial circumstances or just where I live or the circumstances, the number of children I have to take care of, the business I have to be responsible for. I still need that humility to know whatever it was yesterday or whatever it is now, tomorrow is going to be different. Today's going to be different. There's always that possibility. Now, out of that flows some of the most unbelievably beautiful, magnificent, liberating, enjoyable parts of life, and the absolute worst. And this is where life comes together and confronts you with its true complexity and nature, and where human beings are confronted with their complexity. This is where freedom's value starts to show itself, and where responsibility has to relate to the nature of life, whether it's the nature of nature, the earth, or life itself. And the qualities to deal with that is the ability to relax, the ability to be open to a greater vision, the ability to receive help from something greater than yourself, and the ability to be truly grateful for the gift of life and be compassionate towards other people. They're all those good things I talked about. And along with that can become lack of compassion, delusion, addiction, just not caring a damn about anything. And you see that in freedom. And you see that in the way responsibility relates. That not caring about anything, it's all about me, narcissism, all that sort of stuff is born in that. And yet at the same time, compassion, forgiveness, fluidity, vision, dreaming. This is where you begin to realize how complex we are. And in this 24-hour period, it's peaking. It's been building for a week or 2 weeks, and it'll flow off for the next couple of weeks as well. And it's like chaos, confusion, parts of Pisces and Neptune. If you can work with Neptune, if you can understand and appreciate and flow with Pisces, you can turn chaos into an ally. You can turn confusion into clarity. But if not, the chaos just gets more chaotic. The confusion becomes more confusing. The delusion becomes more delusional. So it's quite something we're dealing with right now. And practically, well, it's profound or maybe overwhelming. It's like being thrown into the middle of the ocean. It's rather overwhelming. And so you've got to survive this or deal with this. What's the first thing you do? Well, I've surfed a lot and I've been on the beach a lot, particularly lately, and around lifesavers and stuff like that. The way that people drown the fastest is they struggle. They don't relax. If you want to drown fast, fight it. Try and don't relax. If you want to survive, whether you know how to swim or not, relax. Then you've got a chance. Now, if you're in the middle of the Pacific, it's not a great chance, but it's you'll have another 10, 20, 30 minutes or an hour or so, right? Maybe something will come along. Maybe you'll get rescued by a whale. Who knows what's possible? That's very Pisces. Anything's possible. But it can also be, as I said, delusional. Anything's possible, rather than going, okay, I'm in the middle of the Pacific. That's the reality. But there's no point fighting it. The best thing I can do is relax until whatever unfolds, unfolds. That's being realistic. Fighting it is going to drown you faster. And you see this with people who are swimming just off the beach. People who don't know how to swim get caught in a rip and they fight it and they drown faster because they don't know how to relax in the water. Go with the rip. Let it take you. Put your hand up and let someone come and help you. Someone who's compassionate enough, who cares enough to spend their days on the beach, making sure that people have someone to take care of them, to give them advice. The humility to, I'm a billionaire and I run the most amazing businesses, but I'm drowning at the moment. I need to ask for help. Right? It's that sort of quality. Yet all of that is coming at a point in history right now where unbelievably profound changes are happening. Chaos, confusion, are all over the place, which means there's the ability to create new order, but it needs to be order that works and gives people greater freedom. That's its value. There can be greater clarity. There can be greater compassion, but there can also be greater delusion, confusion, negative stuff going on around, lack of humility, complete egotism, narcissism, you name it. And all you have to do is look at the media and you can see all of it. Walk down the street and you can see it with everybody. But what does it mean practically? How do you come to grips with that right here, right now? And I'm going to share something with you. And then I'm going to share some photographs that will give you some greater insight to this. Now, Neptune, this is a human design chart. This is actually the transits for right now. This is the chart for right now, but we're talking about where the planets are right at this moment. We look at this section of the chart. And it's 36. Neptune is here. This is a gate, which is the highest expression of emotional energy. Now, it's not the only expression. It's not the best. It's you might say, when you really learn how to relate to emotional energy and gain emotional clarity, this is what you can do. You can turn crisis into breakthrough in a way that truly helps all sorts of people. In other words, the type of emotional clarity that's needed now is emotional clarity that accepts human beings for who they are, doesn't put them in boxes, doesn't make them into right and wrong, because that'll create more crisis, chaos, delusion, you name it. It's accepting humanity, and I've talked about this in an earlier video, with the complexity it has. And when you look at this, it's line one, which is investigating how the hell do we deal with real crisis that demands that we relate and ask for the help of all sorts of other people, that we listen to, that we share perspectives with all sorts of other people in order to gain a clarity where we're emotionally grounded and living in the real world, not emotionally driven like a vast amount of stuff in the movies and on TV, where we're driven by just emotional drama. And as I said with this, we need to be investigating this right now aggressively. We need to preserve, in the face of all this crisis that we seem to be involved with, it's having emotional power and clarity to handle a crisis that is affecting all of humanity, each of us differently, and stop chopping up humanity into good and bad, right and wrong, this and that, control, manipulate, power, they're enlightened, they're not enlightened. All of that stuff needs to go out and go, hey, we're going through a crisis like being born. And it takes some clarity. It takes like push, relax, okay, open up. These are the sort of things that happen at birth, right? It's that sort of thing. Or we can become super principled and, in a sense, create resistance. We know better. We know what's going on. I see this just as much in the New Age as I see it in not New Age. It's like we are principled. We have the principles that are right. And it's like, no, we're all going through a crisis of being born into something that we've never experienced before, historically or now. And if you've done work on yourself for 50 years, great. You could be in a place to really handle this more elegantly, but it's still going to be a birthing process into something utterly new. So you need humility. And, if you're a very down-to-earth, practical person, you need to go, well, maybe there's something to this relaxing, letting go, spiritual, visionary stuff that I can practically take advantage of and use for my benefit and for the benefit of the people that I care about. Maybe if I've got a ton of money, I can actually spend it in a way that isn't charitable, but it actually makes a real difference to the real lives of real people in real circumstances, whether they be absolutely tragic, like the control that goes on in North Korea, or it's difficult, like certain parts of Africa, or they're just struggling because of lack of resources, like parts of Asia and South America and stuff, and parts of America, and parts of Australia, depending on where you live and who you are. Or whether you're struggling to get fulfillment because you've got all the food you need, all the friends adoring you on Facebook, and you've got more money than you even know what to do with, and you feel empty. Or it's a pseudo fulfillment that, in the moments of most clarity, doesn't really touch your soul and bring out the very best of you and bring it to the table. And this is what we're looking at now. We need to investigate it. And on a practical level, it's, if we're going to truly succeed and have our life work, we have to remember, and this is to do with that gate 36, we have to actually investigate this very practically on a personal level. that our purpose here is to love. And that love is far greater than just what we think loving is. It starts with loving ourselves, not being obsessed with ourselves, not being caught up in our ego, but taking what it takes to really bring out what true love is. Now, I've had a teacher who gave me some really practical stuff on that. I'm just going to bring a look. This comes from a channel Lazarus, but it's and was one of the first things they ever did. And it's decades and decades later. It's still just as powerful and potent, because love is something that you do. It's actually tangible. You do something in order to create certain states, certain ways that you can be. In other words, you do something to create a specific result, and it's not airy-fairy, and it's not all gooey-gushy, although at times it can be. But when you're doing something to produce this, you're loving. You know, when you're giving, it's one of the things you do. When you're being responsible, when you're respecting people, when you're getting to know yourself or know somebody, when you have the humility so that you can get close to people and intimate with people, not judge them and push them away in being a judgmental way. When you have the courage to commit to something that matters to you, and when you care, these are the things that you do, but you do them for a specific purpose, to produce any one of these 7 things. Security. You want to produce security. You're not demanding respect to dominate. You're respecting yourself or asking for respect in order to feel secure. You're respecting yourself so that you can feel secure within yourself, or you're giving respect to someone so that they can feel secure. Or pleasure. Nice thing to have. You know, when you have the courage to commit to having a really beautiful evening with your wife or your children, that's loving. When you have the courage to commit to making someone else's life more beautiful, to taking care of somebody in another country or whatever, not to feed your ego, but to genuinely experiencing them having joy and feeling good about themselves. I know I get to do this quite a lot, and it's awesome. It's truly, it's to feel love, that you're doing something that gives them pleasure. And the thing that's shared between the two of you is love. It's just freaking awesome, to put it in simple languages, to produce more honesty between people and the ability to be vulnerable without feeling threatened that they'll be hurt or taken advantage of. When you do something in order to create trust, when you do one of those 7 things in order to create greater intimacy and greater caring, when you do something to reduce people's fear of actually losing their life, losing their finances, losing their children, losing their house, when you give them notice that a flood is coming, when you have the courage to commit to flying a helicopter to get them out of the house before the flood hits, that's loving. It's so damn practical. And finally, to help them know something, really know themselves or know what life is truly about. You do these things, And, you know, if you want to know more, there's information from the people who distribute Lazarus material, or even on YouTube, where Lazarus talks about that. But this is the ultimate expression of Pisces and Neptune, is that there is this vast non-physical reality that loves us. And we're living in a physical, limited reality where we get limited ways of experiencing love. But when you realize the two can work together to create new levels of love, which produce compassion and understanding and clarity, where we can relax, where we can flow, where we can see every day as a gift, something new to discover. And when you're open to that, and it comes to you from where you least expect it, that's the beauty of Pisces. And here we are in a world where, if you look at the media and you take things in, as I do quite a bit, you can get so depressed or so scared so quickly. Or so intent on keeping a positive mindset, you know, and so love and light. And so let's work magic to save the world, that it becomes obsessive rather than relaxed. You know, it's like, let's work some magic. Let's be compassionate. One of the things I like about the stories from Buddha that I've come across, because my family lives in a Buddhist country and I take some interest in that, is how relaxed Buddha was about a lot of different things. It's the one thing that shows out. It's nothing much phases him. And yet he asks for the simplest things that bring people incredible clarity. Well, this is where we're at now. It's like we can either avoid it all by increasing the drama and the self-righteousness, or becoming excessively positive or obsessed with our spirituality, or obsessed with people who hurt our feelings or whatever. Or we can go, okay, hold on. Everyone's unique, everyone's different. People have different sensitivities, but that means everyone's utterly unique. So what's right for me isn't necessarily right for them. What works for me, I can share if they appreciate and can take advantage of it. I'm living in a very complex situation where the greatest challenge is, how do we turn our differences into real assets that bring us together and enable to share this experience as a truly down-to-earth celebration of the gift of life? And how can I contribute to that before this gift finishes, completes itself? How can I truly celebrate being older, age? In the West and in certain parts of the East too, they're obsessed with youth. Why? I love being an older person. It's getting better and better day by day. It's challenging, but it's getting better. And I want to be healthy, but I want to be a healthy old person, not an old person who's trying to be healthy to appear like they're young or to act like they're young. There's such beauty in age. It's so, well, you've got the experience, but you've also got the ability to relax. You've got compassion. You look at people and you see them for where they're at. You understand what they're going through when they're children and adolescents and young adults. And sometimes you just shake your head. I do that a lot. So it's like, oh my God, walking down the street. And yet there's an incredible beauty to be discovered beneath the facade of conforming and fitting in. And that has its place. So there's that, the wisdom, the beauty of age. And I'm going to show you some pictures just so there's that understanding of we came from somewhere. The part of us that dies and leaves, the body stays here. My body will stay here. But there's part of me in the body that's just as involved in being alive right now, that's allowing me to talk to you, to look at you, to get involved with this in a way that really works. That one day it's going to leave and the body, this is going to stay. And that's going to go somewhere. And it came from somewhere. And if it was creative enough to create this incredible world, that's somewhere I came from, that's somewhere I'm going to. It's going to have qualities about it that are incredibly awesome. We've got all these concepts and ideas and religions and images of what that may or may not be, what it may or may not involve. The part of it I've experienced within myself, your mind can't grasp it, but it feels so good. And it resolves so many issues in this world. So there's that, where we've come from. There's where we're going to. There's who we are now. There's our childhood. There's our community. There's our family. There's the people we meet. There's old age, which is just awesomely beautiful, but not in many places feared, which is absurd, because you can get pain and disease as a child. I know children who've got this. So it's not that. It's just we're scared of waking up and becoming wise and guiding other people on how to enjoy life. We're scared of losing our addiction to the things, or our obsession with the things that don't matter. And the only reason I can possibly imagine that happens is because we think we don't matter. And yet every human being really matters, because they're precious. They've got something about them, within them, the way they operate, the way they live, the way they see life, that's so precious, because only they can do it. Only they see it that way. And this is a time in history where we're going through crisis, because it's time we woke up and saw that, and then started basing our whole culture and structure and society and the way we relate to each other as human beings from that point. Otherwise, there will be a lot of problems that are utterly a waste of time, painful, and don't contribute anything of real value to what an incredible gift this life is. So I just want to show you these, I've just got some pictures here. And this one represents my heritage, where I came from. You might say where I'm going to. Now, for you, that may or may not mean anything, but this is precious. Right? Then there's this. Now, some of you may agree or not agree, but frankly, where can I put this? Here we go. Look, this thing that we're all the same, this is Ronald Reagan, only works in two places: heaven, where they don't need it, and hell, where they already have it. We're all unique, and we all need to be loved and supported for who we are. but we're not going to have equal impact, equal outcomes, equal. It's not. It's the biggest avoidance of the complexity of human beings ever come across. Now, that doesn't mean other systems don't have problems, and I mean major ones. But until we understand each one of us is utterly unique, precious, and not to be fitted into any particular system, but we create a system that's based on bringing out the very best of our uniqueness and put that together, we're not going to get anywhere. And finally, if you tell me age is scary or not beautiful, look at this woman. I mean, that is an awesome, beautiful, powerful, wise woman. To me, I just look at her and all I see is joy, experience. Yeah, she's sitting down. Yeah, she's protecting herself. But look at those eyes and look at that face. It's utterly beautiful. No cosmetics needed, right? At all. So that's what I'm going to leave you with, is an unusual video for the next 24 hours. Hope you enjoy it. If you get something from it, great. If I can help you get more out of it, contact me. I don't do consultations anymore. I've done tens of thousands, well, 5 to 10,000 of them. I mentor people into getting the best out of who they truly are. And it's only those people who are really open to it, who really, no matter how successful they are, they want to go to a whole new level, because that's what I can do. And that's what I enjoy. But if you've got something out of this, celebrate it. If you think it's a load of crap, look at it as feedback. Don't dismiss it. Be humble enough to say, interesting point of view, and see if there's any way you can practically draw something out of this that really makes a difference to you and the people you care for. Because if it does, I've done my job. So have a wonderful day, and the day's coming. Learn to relax and open up to something greater than yourself, because it's a great time to do it. Allow your vision to clarify. Even if you go through confusion, allow it to like a rainstorm, clear and clear the air, and look at your life differently, because you matter. And while you're alive, you've got something that no one else in this world can contribute to give. And be humble enough to openly share it with those who are willing to receive it, and who treat it with respect. Lots of love. Take care.